Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to thread a garland, in particular a woodland garland, which is one of our kits, and it's a bit more fiddly than some of the other garlands, so I'm just doing a specific video on it to show you. So I've got my finished animals, which I'm going to thread onto the garland, and I've got my string. Or if you're just using the pattern, you'll need some string or ribbon. This is about 1.5 meters long, and you also need a needle, and you need the eye of the needle, which is the little hole where the thread goes through. You need that to be big enough to thread your string or ribbon into. So I'm just going to thread the needle up with the string I'm using. And it can be a bit fiddly, but the needles we supply in the kit are big enough to thread the string onto, so I'm just going to do that first of all. And I have put my animals in the order I want them to be. In your kit instructions it will tell you roughly where to thread the needle through, but you don't need to follow this, it's just rough, so that when the animals are hanging, if you do it too low down, they'll be top heavy and they'll kind of tip over like that while it's hanging, but I'll show you that while we're doing it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread through each animal in the order I want them to be on the garland. So I'm just going to go in through one of the holes where the stitching from left to right, like so, but I'm going to do it so that the needle comes out the back like that. If you had a long needle, you could just kind of go all the way through and out the other side, but because our needle isn't long enough, this is just an easier way to do it to stop you from pricking yourself too much. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to come out the back like so, and it's a bit fiddly. Just pull it out the back like so. So the string is now going from the side and it's gone through the centre and it's come out the back. And don't worry about pulling it along too much. You can adjust that when we're finished. And then I'm just going to kind of make a big stitch on the back of the animal and come out the other side. So I'm going to come out through one of the gaps in the stitching, to ideally more towards the top of the animal, just like I say, so it's not too top heavy when you're hanging them. And it's just like that. So that's the first one threaded on. So the string's gone through and I've just gone out through the back, making that little stitch to make it easier. So I'm just going to repeat that for all the animals till they're all on the garland. So I've got, next I've got the badger. So again, I'm just taking the needle from left to right through one of the gaps in the stitching, and I'm going to bring it out the back like that. And then down again through the middle of the animal and back through one of the gaps in the stitching out the other side. And you might need to kind of squish the animal a little bit just to get the thread through. It is a bit fiddly, but you can kind of adjust it when the string's on. So again, I'm just tightening that. And again, I've got the string that's going through one side and out the other side with the stitch like that. You don't need to do the stitch, but this makes it a lot easier because the needle's quite short. So if you were going all the way through and out the other side, you would have to kind of squish the animal quite a lot, and it's quite difficult. So so this is probably the best way to do it, I would suggest. So that's 2 animals on. I'm just going to keep repeating. So I'm just going to go through the top of the stag head, and on this one I don't really need to do it because it's nice and short. If you see, the needle kind of goes all the way through, and that's all right. So I don't need to do the stitch on that one. Like so. Got the head job next. So I'm going to go through towards the top of the animal, one of the gaps in the stitching, come out the back like that, make a stitch, and then come out the other side towards the top, again in one of the gaps in the stitching, pull it, and that's that one down again, so it's going through one side and out the other. And then the last one, which is the squirrel, which I'm just going to do again, just go through the one side through one of the gaps in the stitching, through the back, and pull it out, make a stitch on the back, and then back through the other side through one of the gaps, like so. So now that they're all on, so that's our garland threaded. And what you can do now, it's ready to hang, but what you can do is you can just kind of slide them by pulling gently along, which will adjust your spacing if you want the gaps to be smaller or bigger, like that. And that's how to thread your garland.